Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 22nd of July, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Got a hugely microscopic Monday show for you guys in the chamber today. You're looking at the title and you see episode 69 and you think, is this not the episode that he has been waiting for this entire time? Surely he's been counting down the days with a bit planned for episode 69. It fits the essence of the show too well that, just that it happened, just that we made the show long enough to even hit such a milestone. I have devastating news for you guys. Not only is nothing funny going to happen in this episode, I'm going to fuck up the vibes hard. Like you're going to work today. If you're listening to the show going into work, I'm just going to let you know, today is one of those episodes. It's one of those episodes where I just have a really cathartic experience and just try to get it all out. I don't know how we're going to get there. I don't know how we're going to get from A to B. But before we jump into what's going on and why I'm just such a mess, because who knows, I figured we could do a fun little email, get the gears spinning a little bit. Honestly, maybe it'll put me in a better mood because it's a good email. I really appreciated this guy. So let's jump into it. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, is the email to the program. Spelled phonetically, wherever it is. I fucked this up. Usually I'm rock solid delivering the email. It will be available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this show. So this one comes into us from Brian. Brian, welcome to the show. Hi, Nick. Sorry. Subject line: Paris Olympics from a European basketball fan's perspective. Hi, Nick. Brian here. Longtime listener, first-time emailer. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for the show. As a European fan who cannot be bothered to stay up and watch ESPN on whatever streaming site I see fit, your show is one of my information sources for basketball news, and now a weekly tradition of a can of Coke Zero on my bed listening to your Zags for an hour and losing my mind in your show. An hour of bliss for me personally. Absolutely love that. You really painted a picture there. Just breaking the email. Really painted a picture, and also never seen more terrifying words than your show is one of my information sources for basketball. I love the idea, not to stray from the email, but I love the idea of the average person who listens to the show. They don't read the news, but they get all of their information third hand from me. Very, very funny. Brian, let's get back to your email here. Appreciate all of that. I'm writing you today on the Paris Olympics and how us Europeans will be able to watch them at a normal hour and not have to stay up crazy late for them. I'm extremely excited for Americans to finally understand how brutal this is on a nightly basis. The second part of my email is to ask your opinions on how the NBA is growing into a worldwide phenomenon. I myself am Irish from country Cork and am in 6th year. Parenthetically, last year of high school is what I think it works out to be in that heap of shit you Americans call an education system. Hey, Brian, I'm reading your email here, so why don't you fucking relax, bro? But back to my point, over the last couple of years, I have watched the NBA become a big part of Irish culture, particularly in my age group of 18 to 22-year-olds. All of my close friends and me each have a team that we support. 2K is a Friday night tradition, and we have been playing basketball in our local park for years. That's awesome, dude. Anyways, my questions to you are, why do you think the NBA has such a global chokehold over American sports? So why is it the NBA? Thank you, Brian, very much for the email. Why is it the NBA that it has such a global chokehold? I don't know. I think the second part of that is more for the comment section because I think that's really interesting. But if I had to try to dissect it a little bit, it probably has something to do. You give a lot of credit to Adam Silver for this. I think his globalization of the game, from an advertisement perspective, I think has been huge, which is probably one of the better things about Adam Silver as a commissioner, where I think from a commercial standpoint, he might be one of the best commissioners that has ever commissioned. You know what I mean? Because you look at this TV deal that they just signed, and first of all, I think there's, I'm going to talk about the WNBA part of this. There has been some confusion, I think, on wow, good for Adam Silver for getting the W involved. And the NBA was never going to not make all of these same networks pay the WNBA. Doug, Adam Silver is squeezing $200 million a season out of these networks to pay the WNBA. I mean, we're talking about a times 10 influx of shit for the WNBA. That kind of puts them in this. It skyrockets the league, first of all. And it also puts them in sort of the same tier, the same paradigm as the MLS. So, everyone at sitting out, wow, the MLS, what a fucking, everybody watches the MLS. You're right, sure, I get it. But it's not nothing for the for the W, and I think that Adam Silver does get some credit for that. Then the other question for that, by the way, is did Caitlin Clark arrive at the perfect time, or did fuck. The answer to it, the whatever stupid straw man hypothetical I was about to pose, is that the WNBA is very, very thankful that Caitlin Clark and like Angel Reese just showed up, because otherwise I don't know if you know what I mean? I don't know if you would have been able to get this out of them. But then as far as the actual NBA goes, I think it's also because the league itself is probably the best out of the 4 major American sports at marketing its own marketing its own games on social media. Where if LeBron goes coast to coast, hits like a hezzy tween 18-footer, you're going to see it on Twitter in the next 45 seconds. You know what I mean? The other part of it that you give them a lot of credit for, you give the league a lot of credit for, is their leniency with clip usage, where it's not impossible to include. If I wanted to throw up some NBA footage in this video, if I wanted to cite a few clips, I'm allowed to do that without worrying that my shit's going to get taken down. I'm going to get a copyright strike and I don't have this show anymore. Whereas the NFL, I think the PGA is the worst about it. I mean, you can't even fucking post a picture of anything from the PGA. They're really bad about it. The NHL has always been kind of wishy-washy about it. They just don't care about clips literally at all, which is fine. It doesn't technically matter, but if you want to be profitable, then people have to know what's going on. It's okay, whatever. The MLB has been bad about it. The NBA is just the best. Also, you definitely hear the most pop culture references, again, out of the 4 major American sports. I feel like the NBA is the one that gets the most pop culture references, like in music and shit like that. So I think through virtue of that, that's another big piece of it. I don't know. It's in some way, it probably goes hand in hand with the fact that it definitely is the most casually consumed sport in America. And perchance in the world. Not sure. Most casually consumed sport in the world. Basketball feels like a really easy thing to say. Because, like, I feel like anybody who watches, like, I don't think cricket is on the, you know what I mean? Like, if you care about rugby, like, you're really in there. Like, you're doing the haka, like, in your living room before every game. You know what I mean? Soccer, maybe soccer is the answer just because of how actually global that sport is. I think is maybe fair, and it's a lot easier, but just through virtue of it's just a numbers thing, right? I think it's probably gonna be that. Why is the NBA such a global sport? I think that from on my end, I think that probably covers everything. I'll pass the mic off to you guys on that down in the comments on YouTube and on Spotify. And then I'm sorry, what was the first part of this email that I wanted to comment on? Yeah, the having to watch things at a later time. You know, Brian, that we do technically have the inverse of that. I don't know if that makes you feel any better. We do have, if I wake up and I want to watch Leicester City, what time do I have to wake up? You know what I mean? It's the opposite, where we just have to wake up super early to watch these games. It's even worse if you're on, like, the West Coast. So, like, that is a thing. I'm trying to think of another sport. Like, the only other time that we get inconvenienced by start times, again, if you cared about cricket, that would be a thing. I don't know. If, like, UFC or whoever the fuck it was, did a fight in, like, I don't remember where it was. Somewhere in the Middle East. Was it Saudi Arabia? I don't remember where Dana was for that. I say Dana like I fucking know the guy. How about the fact that Dana, do the RNC later, Nick. Don't do the RNC right now. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. Do some Dana White stuff. But yeah, all right, sure, Brian. Yeah, we will feel your pain for the NBA, but with the Olympics, yeah, for sure. I think it sucks because I like watching the Olympics. Kind of. The older I get, kind of the less I care about it. But I tell you what, if South Sudan didn't win over the hearts of everyone, then I don't know. Did you sneaky, by the way, I didn't watch the game, but did you sneaky kind of wish that they did it? Because for a country that's only been sovereign for not even 15 years, when did South Sudan, like, when were they like, hey, we're a thing? Wasn't that like 2010? It's like recent. I guess they're like not a real, well, they are a real place now. And they almost just beat the motherfucking US of A. Was it Wen and Gabriel that was doing the interview? And he was like, dog, we don't even have like indoor courts. Like this is bigger than basketball for just us. Like that's to me, is that not like what the Olympics are for, is for stories like that? That honestly, the David versus Goliath. And if you have to be food for the David, in this instance, I don't care. It's an exhibition game. If that was, in group play or something, I would be pissed. Group play. How do they do it in the Olympics? I don't get it. This is the take for me. It's not that I lied for like a month about this. It's that I tricked myself into thinking I was going to be super dialed in for Team USA because they got all the dudes back together. You know what I mean? And then you have Joel Embiid coming out being like, LeBron is old as fuck. This team sucks. Oh, whoops. I watched like the first, that's right. I watched the first 3 quarters of the US-Australia game. I was like, this is a wash. I'm turning this shit off. 45 minutes later, I see we ended up winning by like 4. What the hell happened? I do think did it not work out perfectly though for all of those like Bleacher Report interns who, as soon, all these Team USA guys are at camp. And who gets the last shot? Oh, look at all these guys. You giving it to Bron? You giving it to Steph? You giving it to KD? Giving it to Jason Tatum? Book? Who's getting the last shot? It was Bron. It was LeBron. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb and say something real brave here. Probably mostly it's going to be LeBron if they're ever in a situation like that again. A man who is as timeless as him and can put somebody's ass in a basket. If I'm down 1 with 10 seconds left, I'm giving the ball to LeBron. I'm not thinking about it. So so Nick, so you don't actually care as much as you thought as you did about Team USA this year. Does that mean you're going to care if they don't win the gold? And this is where I think I'm going to trick myself again. Because, yeah. Be like, what the hell? What's your guys' problems? Because I need to pick a lane to stay in. Either this team's not going to win the gold because it's not an old man's game, and this team is sort of on the north side of the average age has got to be like 32 on this team, honestly. I'd be curious to know what it was for all the other teams competing. Sneaky might not be that far off, by the way. For some of the countries, it is just through virtue of not having that many guys, and they'll just throw out some like 24-year-old. But I feel like for the most part, if you're going to be making the international team, then you're seasoned, you know what I mean? So you're in your late 20s, maybe 30. So I don't think 32 is actually that is a little bit, like 30 is a good average age. Weird, I don't need to, this is fucking fixating on this way too much. It's not that important. So is that the lane that I want to say that they're not going to win the gold because they're too old? Unintentional rhyme, I do that from time to time, Dr. Seuss in this news. Or do I want to say it's the US of A, it's LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. No, I can't stretch that one. It's all our boys. It's all our boys. Also, isn't there something to be said about Anthony Davis's Olympic career? I don't know what it is, but there's probably something to be said about it because the motherfucker has always been there. Was he there in 2000? No, he obviously wasn't there in 2008. The dude was like a freshman in high school. He was drafted in 2011, so he wouldn't have been even on the 2012 team. What the hell am I thinking of? Anthony Davis. Is this like a Mandela effect? Anthony Davis, so the opportunities for him to play on an international team would have been 2014 FIBA, 16 Olympics, 18 FIBA, 20 Olympics Did they push those? What did they end up doing with the Summer Olympics in 2020? Did they push them to the following summer? That sounds right. So was that 4 or was that 5? So there's at least, and then this. So there's at least 5 or 6 cycles that Anthony Davis could have participated in Olympic basketball, or at least Team USA basketball between the Olympics and FIBA. You want to talk about a radioactive conversation? Actually, we got an email about it. I might as well see if I can find it really quick and try to read it. You want to talk about a radioactive conversation. This email comes into us from Jared, copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever you listen to this program. Jared, welcome to the show. Subject line, internal conflict I'm having. Nick, I don't know if you've been following the Bronny James stuff, but it's ripping me apart. On the one hand, I want the kid to succeed so badly for himself because he's obviously a nice kid who is just trying to live up to his dad's insane expectations, and I feel like he is the victim in all of this. On the other hand, because this is just blatant nepotism, getting drafted and signed, the media is hilariously tiptoeing around it. I want him to fail because I feel like his dad needs to be humbled and is doing him an incredible disservice. Awful Coaching YouTube channel has broken down his games so far, and it's been night and day from his first 2 games since his last 2. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have the cognitive dissonance to manage this situation. I'm worried I am just going to have to give up on being a hater and root for him. Can you give me any advice on how to stay comfortably balanced on this fence? Jared, if I say anything that's like charged and like it sounds real, I'm not saying it to you. Okay? Jared, I just want you to know that. I'm not saying anything to you. Okay? But let's talk about it. I've stayed away from this conversation completely for a myriad of reasons. One, it's fucking annoying. It's really annoying. I don't think I've seen one good take on the whole thing, and I don't want to add another log on that fire of like a dude who's just talking about, because there are levels to this shit. I am trying to put myself in the shoe. If I heard any motherfucker out there say, I don't care how successful I am, I don't care how many billions of dollars I'm worth, I don't want to hear somebody say that they want my son to fail because I'm an asshole or because I need to be like humbled. Like, when that's Jared, I'm not saying that to you, but like, that's a popular sentiment that people just want because of their disdain for LeBron. They're like rooting for Bronny to fail. And then there are the people who are like, man, he's just a kid, man. Like, he's just a fucking kid. And you fucking, like, he kind of is. He's grown, though. He's the kind of a kid, like a little bit. It's just the whole fucking thing. The most consequential 55th overall pick you've ever heard of in your fucking life? No, he wouldn't have gotten drafted if LeBron wasn't his dad. Oh, but Nick, he's taking that roster spot away from somebody else. Oh, but who cares if they're taking it away from somebody else? It's the second round, so it doesn't matter. Oh, fucking Nikola Jokic and Draymond Green, you ever heard of them? That's the back and forth. That's the volley, right? That you're seeing fucking ad nauseum. I guess, to both of them, honestly. My thing is, like, if the pick was literally anybody else, you would not care. You wouldn't care. And guess what? The team, the kid that the Lakers could have instead drafted, if he was good enough to be in the NBA, the Lakers, A, could have picked him up on a summer league deal, sign him to a training camp deal if you want to put him on a nice 10-day. B, if there was somebody really that valuable there, somebody else would have gotten him. You know what I mean? So I don't really think that's something I don't totally agree with, is like, oh, but what if somebody else went there? I guess, but they probably already got drafted because there's only 58 picks. So in the 3 remaining picks, can I tell on myself or something? I never mentioned this to you guys. I was asleep. It was like the 40th pick, and I was like, I can fall asleep for 15 minutes. I wake up and the draft is over. I was fucking furious. I was like, I watched 10 picks of the second round. Why did I even do that? Let me stay on the Bronny thing for just a second. Because I also don't like that people try to get in his head. That feels weird to me, too. It makes me a little uncomfortable because, man, LeBron forcing him into doing something that he doesn't even want to do. What are you talking about? It's not inconceivable. It's not unheard of that a father forces his shortcomings onto his son, right? But what happens when you're like the best to ever do it? And at the worst, one of the 3 best, one of the 2 best to ever do it. Okay. I mean, like, I think if Bronny really didn't want to do it, he would have the presence of mind to be like, hey, man, this is like a shadow that I don't even want to, like, huh? And so and people are like, oh, but he loves this. Maybe he just wants to be a streamer. Maybe he just wants to be a streamer. I think people just like to do a lot of stuff. I think people just, it's not binary. You know what I mean? Like, I think people just like to do different shit. Like, I don't do this in my free time. I don't sit in front of a microphone in my free time. I talk to myself in my free time, and I refine some takes, but I do other shit, and like, you guys don't see me getting up here on a mic and talking for an hour, and then 2 days later I upload a song that I made that I wanted to show you guys. You guys don't say to me like, dog, like, shut up and podcast. Like, that's not what you say. You're like, oh, that's cool. Like, he has a hobby that he likes to do. The whole thing is fucking radioactive. It's volatile, it's gross, and it's disingenuous. All of it. All of it is. I'm not rooting for Bronny to fail. I would root for Bronny to be as good of an NBA player as I would for any other guy that I didn't care about. Like, oh, if it works, that's really cool. And if it doesn't work, which is my take probably, that I don't think it will, I do agree with Jaylen Brown. Shout out to Clutch for making the phone call and making Jaylen Brown... I really respected Jaylen Brown's the way his, I don't want to say that like his grace through this, but just the way that he carried himself. Because for a dude who, and you guys hate when I say this, I don't think Jaylen Brown is that smart. I think he's kind of a dumb guy a little bit, but I love him, right? So when there's a camera guy in the crow's nest and you're jomboying his ass talking about, I think Jaylen Brown just said that Bronny's not a pro. That video goes viral, so much so that Clutch makes the call. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and Jaylen Brown goes on Twitter, and he's like, yeah, man, like, maybe, but, like, basically what he said, I'll put the tweet on the screen. I don't fucking remember what he said. Basically, it was like, that shit is, I was not lying. He kind of, like, defended himself a little bit, but he was basically like, yeah, man, like, he's got the tools and shit around him. Like, if the infrastructure's there, like, I'm rooting for him. But he did not say that that's not what he said. He didn't say that's not what he said. people getting all mad about, Bronny, he's gonna take all these minutes. I'd be shocked if he logged enough minutes to total one game. If Bronny, I don't think he's gonna play 50 minutes the entire season. I'd be shocked, barring any new, injuries, developments, whatever. The kid's gonna be in where's their G League team, like South Bay or something? I don't remember where. Santa Cruz? No, that's the Warriors. He's probably just gonna be there. Hasn't that been the language on it so far? I guess what does suck though from the LeBron perspective is it's like, dude, this kid had a heart attack a year ago. I don't know what, like, there was no version of events where he stays for 4 years, obviously, but like, what was the worst thing that would have happened if he stayed one more year at USC? Just asking. Because LeBron wasn't going to retire. He was just going to, he's just always going to re-sign. But I think that maybe the argument is that, like, fuck it, don't go there, dude. It doesn't matter. So I'm just confused. Like, I just feel like maybe we could have handled this with some grace. So then the take becomes the reason that it was now. The reason for Bronny James that he wanted to go into the draft this year was because of the class, because of the quality that we had been bitching about for months. I mean, going up to it, the months leading up to it, what were we saying about it? That it was the worst. That it was the worst in maybe 24 years. Was it 23 years? 2000 or 2001 was like what is this? Wow, what is this? There were some bad drafts in the early 2000s, right? And so this is he's guaranteed to get drafted. But then it's like, well, but you're the Lakers. If you have a late second, you could take whoever you want. And even if it's a good draft class, like you could take Bronny. Yeah, but it's harder to do that. It's harder to justify it. If you're picking, I don't know, dude, if you're picking, what did he go? 58 picks. He went 55th, right? I already said that. So if you're picking 55th, there's not a dude that's still on the board that you're like, oh, this fucking guy, we got to get this guy. There's just not. Everybody's on the margins, and those are the two-way guys, and it's a whole thing. So, okay, so what's the problem? The Lakers drafted a two-way guy, and he's going to be a two-way guy, and he probably will just be a one-way guy, but like in the not good place, like in the upside down, basically, is what Bronny James is going to be. So I hope that answers the question. If you are somebody who gets your information from this show, if you're somebody who gets all your takes, thoughts, opinions, etc. from this show, there's your take. This whole thing, I guess, I don't know, this very long-winded take. It's going to be hard to regurgitate everything I just said to somebody, but I trust you guys to rehearse it in the mirror and do your absolute best. A lot of you guys listen to this in the car. You got shit else to do if you're sitting in traffic. Rewind it and say it out loud to yourself. I think that's well, I don't want to pivot just yet. We can stay on some not emotional stuff. Hey, Joe Biden doesn't want to be the president anymore. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sleepy. Well, no, I didn't actually mean to make I didn't mean to make that joke, but well. Yeah, kind of a shocker. Hey, so what the fuck is Shams Charania doing breaking this news? Why am I learning that Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race from Shams Charania? Why? Do his New York Times sources parallel his NBA sources that well? Which I guess maybe that's worth mentioning out there for if there is anybody out there who's confused as to why Shams broke this. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure he also broke when Trump had COVID a couple of years ago. You remember that? The internet went fucking ballistic. For good reason. That's hilarious. So, okay, if The Athletic was acquired by the New York Times. So, yes, Shams works for The Athletic, but, like, they're owned by the New York Times. So it's not inconceivable to think that Shams, being as connected as he is and being in as many rooms as he has been, has maybe some more contacts in his phone beyond just the general managers and the agents that we're familiar with. Very interesting, because, like, I guess I wonder what the angle is if you're Shams. Why? It maybe puts an interesting lens on the problem that we have collectively with Shams and Woj. This addiction to breaking news, this addiction to being first. Why is Shams doing this other than, like, he can? And I'm not doing this to shit on him that much. I'm kind of asking this from, like, a psychological standpoint. What is that? Like, So his whole, like, it's this first culture that we've seen, and it's not even journalism. It's not real journalism. It's not journalism if you are just mouthpiecing what agents and GMs are saying to you. And then the whole thing isn't even, how many times has he fucked up? Woj has fucked up, seemingly less frequently, but this first culture is wild. How did this information get to him? Is crazy, but I'm focusing maybe too much on that and the fact that for the next 4 months, Joe Biden will be our president. I guess technically he's the president until January, but for all intents and purposes, until November, yeah, it's just, he's done. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And I'm a little bummed because I guess I'm confused as to why I care so little. Because I thought I reached the point of cynicism in my earlier 20s. I thought 2016 when Trump won, I thought that was a point where I was like, I understand America on a fundamental level. And Biden dropping out it's not a commentary on America, by the way. Could I get there? It's not a commentary on America. The dude is 1,000 years old. End of story. That's it. He should not have been the president. As soon as all the boosters and the donors, I say that like it's a college football team, but as soon as they were all like, dog, you can't do this anymore. And then, by the way, can we just have a very, very brief conversation? I haven't even thought about this. This is coming to me in real time, so I'm just going to need to talk this one out. Who's going to get blamed if Trump wins? Because, by the way, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's going to depend on who they wheel out there. Because if it's Kamala, it's wraps. That's not going to happen. That's not going to be a thing. But I don't know. We'll just let that one play out. That's not really what I'm here to talk about. Well, potential replacements should be something that you're talking about, Nick. That's like the whole deal. The funniest thing that the DNC could do is give the nomination to RFK. It is the single funniest thing that they could possibly do, and I would not vote. I will not vote. I will abstain from voting if those are our two choices. But I wanted to ask, who do we blame? Because if you're in November and you turn on CNN and Trump's at 270, it happened. Are we talking about how the liberal media they were the ones who pushed Joe out, actually? And if only they hadn't done that and been so damn selfish, we actually would have stood a chance. I don't know how true that would have been, considering by seemingly every conceivable metric, Joe Biden was not going to win this election. It seems like a very easy thing to do. Get what I'm saying here? This is what I'm saying. I haven't really thought about this one too much. I'm kind of trying to digest it in real time. So I don't know, but I really did think that I thought that I looked at all of this shit in a more analytical way. And instead of like rooting for outcomes, it was just more like, what are the ramifications and like, what is the domino effect that this could cause for not just America, usually just for America, but for the entire world. Because when you have a guy like Donald Trump as president, it can be a lot. But it's not specific to him. Because when you are the leader of the quote unquote free world, there's a splash of American exceptionalism in here where the fact that I'm saying all this bullshit with this fucking shirt on is insane. But like, there is what America does and who they elect has global consequence, right? There are a few countries around the world where this principle reigns true. We are one of them. And so now we're at a point where I guess the cynicism really is setting in now, I thought. Or did I say I thought? I think. Because I can't wrap my head around like why I don't care. And some of it might just be like personal, just what I got going on in my life. Like I'm just like, I don't have the capacity to care about this. Maybe some of it is also like, dude, Trump almost just died. Like that just happened. My brain is still like, what? Like that was real? Oh my God. Although, no, hold on. Not although, because it was real. It is weird. I said we weren't going to do conspiracy stuff last week. This is not conspiracy. This is like conjecture. It is weird that there's like no medical information about this. Because, dog, if he had a hole in his ear, he would show it to everyone. Like you know what I mean? Like, don't you feel the same? Like and then he goes up in the RNC and he's talking about like the oh, and there was so much blood. He goes, the ear is the bloodiest part of the face. He's like, that's what the doctor said. They said, oh, there's so much blood because it's the ear. The ear bleeds the most. The crowd was dead silent. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Even his crowd was silent. What are you talking about? You know how many medical doctors there probably were in the crowd? Like 2. His whole speech was bizarre. We're watching Donald Trump in real time. Dog, the motherfucker has waited his whole life for a moment like this, where he knows for a fact that the eyes of the country are on him. And this dude has to stand up there. He's been crushing on the road for the last 4 years, right? One of the funniest things that Adam Friedland has ever said was that Trump was the last comic on the road during COVID, and he was selling out arenas and he was fucking crushing. The dude sells out Pfizer for him, and he has an opportunity to tell his supporters every single second, an account of every single second of my attempted assassination by Donald Trump. And he goes in at the very beginning, and hopefully he goes, I'm never going to talk about this again. That's not true. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. But I did feel very weird by the end of it. Felt very weird by the end of it. Didn't love how I felt. Just in general across the board. I think this is where we're going to start to get into it, and we're going to go off the rails. I am fucking having a tough time. I had some in-laws in town this weekend, which in and of itself was good. Had no major issues with that at all. It all went very normal. We had some good times. But one of the issues that I was having and that I have been having recently is eating. And by the way, if you are a member of my family, mother, grandma, this is one of those moments where I'm just talking. Just talking. As far as I'm concerned, you guys aren't going to hear this, okay? If you're listening to this show, maybe you're new to the show. Really? He has to give a disclaimer to his family? Yes, I do. Okay. I've always had a very tough, weird relationship with food. Tough isn't the word. A very weird relationship with food, and I've never really been able to identify what exactly the problem is. But every now and then something like this will happen. The problem is I've never had it to this extent. I can't eat. I can't. And some of you are going to be like, oh, Nick, the reason you're in such a bad mood is because you just won't eat something. Like, you got to eat something, silly. Go eat a banana. Shut up. Please don't say that to me. It's crazy because, I try really, really, really hard. And every time, man, this weekend, we went out to dinner last night and I told her, I was like, I don't think I'm going to eat anything. I can't. I'm not trying to be difficult. I physically cannot eat anything. And I got loaded fries. Dog, I ate 4 of them. And then was just and then the other part of it is that I'm not nice to myself. I do not show myself grace and I do not show myself kindness. Because when I get frustrated, right? I get flustered. And it's almost like I don't let myself eat. Or we had the place that we went to for dinner last night, they had these, they're known for their very, very extravagant menu and also the drinks that they have. And the drinks that they have come in these huge, almost like fish bowls is what they are. So my girlfriend and I, we were just well, let's just fucking split one. I took 1 sip because she was like, how do you like it? And I was like, I haven't tried it. She's like, well, try it. I took 1 sip. I tried it. I was like, this is literally the best thing. This is fucking amazing. Didn't have another sip of it. I was I punish myself. I didn't do anything. I was just in a bad mood. And when I get into those moods, I'm like, you don't fucking deserve anything. And so even this morning, we all had breakfast together and we ordered some food. And I was like, she's like, what do you want? I was like, hash browns. I was like, that's what I feel like I might be able to eat a little bit of. Sure enough, the food gets here. I had 4 bites of it and then drank 2 mimosas. And that was it. And that's what I do. The other day, she was at work, right? Which is a whole nother fucking thing. I've talked about it a little bit on the show. And she's at work and we're just talking throughout the day and it's lunchtime. I'm like, have you eaten anything yet, sweetheart? She's like, yeah, blah, blah. She's like, what about you? I was like, no, I've just been too busy, running around. She's like, okay, well, make sure you eat something. It's 5 o'clock later that day. She's like, did you eat anything yet? And I was like, no, I've just been so busy. It's just not on my mind. And then it was 11:30 and I was laying down. I was like, I just have not eaten a single, not to sound like Norm Macdonald, but a single morsel of food today. I don't know what that is. And it's the punishing myself thing that I really kind of want to maybe try to figure out because I don't know. And that's anything. I could be in any type of mood. And it's I will deprive myself of necessity. of necessities rather. And like shit that I'm like, I know I want to do and that like I would make me maybe feel better. I don't let myself do that. And instead I make myself be miserable. And it's hard. And like, I just haven't felt like a person in a while. Like a really long time. And I haven't been able to figure out what the root of that is either. I think it's just because these days they just are so... There's both so much and so little going on at the same time. And I don't know if I'm feeling like a sense of isolation or if I'm not sure what it is. But there are just a lot of days, dude. And I know, man, some of you will be able to relate. And it's just kind of like, it's not even like a motivation thing. Cause like I'm amped. Like I want you guys to see all this merch and we'll get there eventually. Don't worry. I haven't forgot. I love doing the show for you guys, and I really appreciated an email that got sent in to me the other day because you guys actually held me accountable, by the way, for Friday's episode. It wasn't good. And you guys were like, hey, like, I don't know. But we got an email from a dude who he was like, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because I actually found it to be very, it's just very personal, and I just appreciate it. So that this guy will know who he is. Didn't get to respond to it. Just in-laws were in town. I didn't get the chance to respond to it. But this guy, it meant a lot to me. He was basically just like, it was like 10 paragraphs of him basically just being like, stop doing shit that you don't care about. Like, if you don't want to talk about something, don't talk about it just because you feel like you want us to do it. And you know how, if you've listened to the show, I am very feedback-driven and like validation-driven. And if you guys tell me that something's good, then that's what we're doing. And if you guys tell me something's bad, we're fucking never doing that again. If you tell me, hey, maybe do this thing with the show, like try this thing differently. If I like the idea, hell yeah. And another thing that the guy pointed out that I really did appreciate, because it's just one of those things that for the show, okay, good. So this is coming through and you're realizing that this is what I'm trying to do. He's like, I view the show more as like a time capsule for shit that's going on in real time. That's why I'm doing it. Is so that I can look back at some point, or my son can look back at some point and be like, hey, so what did it feel like? What were people saying when Donald Trump was almost assassinated? And I can say, well, let's go back to fucking episode 67 and let's find out. You know what I mean? What were you saying when the Lions blew a 20-something point lead in the NFC Championship game to the San Francisco 49ers? I go, let's go back to January in 2024. I go, let's go find out. And so there are days where, like, it's not that there's, sometimes nothing happening in the entire world, but like when there's no headlines or anything, man, I always, it's a sense of performance that when I get up here, like I feel very much like if an episode is bad, like I've said this before, but I feel like I bombed like a comedian. Like I did a set for an hour and I bombed, only it exists in perpetuity on the internet, and this is shit that I realize may not be the most like it's happening right now. It's happening in real time. I need to talk myself through it. I need to just maybe even take a breath because it's happening in real time where I'm about to like fucking throw my fist through my monitor just because I'm upset. Just upset, which is like, I'm not, that's another thing. I've just been angry lately. Like I've just been angry. A mundane thing that bothers me, a very, very mundane thing that bothers me. If you're at dinner with somebody and you're kind of in the back of your head, you're like, what do you think? I wonder if we're going to split the bill here. And then there's a whole song of, I'll pay for it. No, I'm not going to make you pay for it. Oh, no, I'll pay. Dog, if you offer to pay for my shit, just not going to hassle. Because I actually am, even though I'm uncomfortable by it, I would rather be uncomfortable with you paying for my shit than have the awkward interaction and bullshitting around when, you don't have to do that when ultimately you're just going to do it, I'd rather do that. I was literally just trying to say anything else. You guys want to know something that you don't know about me? Let's just go full self-destruction. It's going to be a tough episode for my grandma to watch. Just watching her grandson have a fucking panic attack for an hour. Not an hour. Hasn't been an hour. I've only been in a bad mood for like 10 minutes. Well, I'm going to... let's move to the next segment. Copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, is the email to the show. Available in the description wherever you listen to this program. Subject line, how do you get over yourself? From John. John, welcome to the show. Morning, Nick. My name is John, and I'm struggling with perfectionism. I've been working at making a YouTube channel, and I think I want to upload music. I want to upload music videos with my own music. I know it probably won't make money or anything like that, but it's something I would enjoy doing and make myself proud. Who knows? Maybe it will end up opening other doors for me as well. Problem is, I have crippling self-doubt. Sometimes it's direct, and I'll think, there's no way this will work. There's no point in trying. Sometimes it's a little more nebulous. Fucking awesome word just to break the email. Incredible usage of the word nebulous. John. Very, very good. Don't be so damn hard on yourself with that vernacular. Look how articulate you are. Anyways, sometimes it's a little more nebulous, and I'll have perfectionist goals like, once I learn this music theory, or once I learn this much about editing videos, I'll start. The issues with those thoughts is it's never enough. I could learn music theory for dozens of cultures and master it, and I would probably still feel like I need more to offer. I've watched your videos going back to the Motown Noah days. We're still in those days, King. And I always got the vibe that you were the same way. I could be off base, but I have a hunch that there's something about the way that a lot of Rust Belt and Bible Belt children are raised that leads to us feeling like we need to be extra great just to be along with everybody else. My question is, how do you set that feeling aside and just do it? Do you have to confront that feeling in order to move forward as a creator? P.S. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm going to leave this because I'm seeing what else you're saying here. I'll just say that don't be so hard on yourself. Tough episode maybe for you to listen to because I've been very critical of myself. But John, thank you very, very much for this email. I would say that, just to be fair, I think a lot of us just feel like we need to be extra great. There may be something to, just to your point of like Rust Belt, Bible Belt, like that Midwestern parenting. Maybe there's something to it. But I think what you're expressing here, even if people aren't talking specifically about content creation, is a very relatable feeling. I very much relate to the, okay, so I can't start doing this project until I learn X, Y, and Z because I'm not equipped to do it and I need to master this technique. I totally relate to that, right? So the example here for me, obviously with this show and all the other podcasts I've done before and all the YouTube videos, I eventually was able to get over the hump on that one, and I don't really have a problem with it anymore. Music I was doing before I was even doing YouTube videos, but it's funny because the way that the path has been for me was like music was my life. When I was 15, I was like, music is my life. And then once I realized I'm not good enough at this to like, this is just a hobby. And I think there's something to be said about having that moment where you're like, this is not what I do. This isn't what I do for my life. This is what I do in my free time. You know, and that moment of like, I really enjoy making music, but it's not what I'm good at. I just do it because I enjoy it. But the thing that I know I will always want to do, and the thing that I know I will never even attempt, is filmmaking. It's never going to happen. I have a friend who is like, dude, I'd love to make something. We've talked about it before, and he said that he would want to do it. It's never going to happen because I'm never going to be there mentally where I feel like I'm qualified to do something like that. And it's that feeling of, there are people who have dedicated their entire lives to this, and like I can't just do it. But then in that same way, it's like, but dude, I've also been doing this my whole life. Like, motherfucker, when I was 8 years old, my parents got me this little video camera, and like I would just like make movies and shit with my action figures, and like my brother and I would make like homemade Doctor Who episodes. Like that's what we did. And then you kind of get a little bit older and you get a little bit separated from that, but eventually I found my way back to it. Right. And it kind of clicked with me. I was like, dog, this is like what my whole life was supposed to be when I was a kid. I was like, I was like 10 years old and my mom is trying to get me into theater, and my grandma's got me on the phone with a girl who I think was going to school maybe here in Chicago, and she was at drama school. And like they're really trying to get me into all this shit, but I'm so afraid of getting out of my shell. Granted, I was 10. I was just a very shy kid. And I would always reject it. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not qualified. I can't do it. I had that self-doubt even as a kid. I was like, I'm not that guy. I'm fucking stupid. And with it, so for me, it's, just using the filmmaking thing, I know I'm never going to do it because I know that there are so many people out there who just know how to do it better. And I can't solo a project like that because I don't believe in myself enough at all. I don't like, and dude, I don't know. I guess it does sound like that's kind of the problem here for you too. So let's just talk about it from a YouTube perspective. The thing that you mentioned at the beginning is good, that you are acknowledging that you might not make any money on this. You might, dude. You might. Like, let's be supportive. You might make some money on this. You're right. It could open some doors. But you don't want to go into it thinking that. And it's good that you're not. This is the same advice that I give to everybody. If you go into it thinking that you're going to make money, you're probably not going to be very good at it. It's good. Like, it's important that you start off doing it because you genuinely love doing it. And then if it turns into something, it turns into something. You know, it's not going to happen for everybody, though. I think the Bo Burnham quote is that, well, it's not really necessary. I don't think it's fair to attribute this to him because all he did was say, it's not a meritocracy. Not everybody gets to live their dreams. It's the truth. Like, this isn't my dream. It's not. But I really like doing it and I'm passionate about it. It's tough to look at something like, you know, for you, it's making music and you know, editing those videos and really getting after it, man. It's tough to convince yourself that you actually belong in the medium that you wish to be in, because you will be more analytical about the playing field than most people will, right? And you realize what it takes and what you may not have and what you may be lacking. And so just you know, how do you motivate yourself to get there? YouTube's the tricky thing about YouTube is, first of all, it's the most accessible, that just the video sharing and creating landscape is more vast than it's ever been. So there's really never been a better time for someone to get out there and start making shit, because you can pump it through so many different mediums that the odds of you catching an algorithm's favor, they multiply. Right? Like, if you really want to do it in 2024, you're not a solo platform dude. You know, if your goal is eyes, you got to make like short form content for everything. You know what I mean? You got to go on TikTok. There's this dude, I think I've talked about him before. There is a guy on YouTube who makes music. I randomly found, you know, sometimes you get those videos recommended to you and you're like, it's like a channel that has like 2 subscribers and the video was uploaded like 3 weeks ago and has like 1 view and it was like just definitely them. You're like, why did this just get recommended to me? One day for me, that was just like a kid who like raps. I was like, what is this? To this day, my girlfriend kind of doesn't like when I bring him up because I check in on him a lot. Because there's something to me about seeing a guy in the wild who nobody's watching. He's posting to nobody. But if you watch his shit, whether or not you thought it was good, I'm not going to link the channel or name it or anything because I'm not trying to sound like I'm blasting him, because I'm not. I fucking love this guy. It does not matter to him if nobody's watching. He uploads shorts like every single fucking day of all of his songs. And he puts out mixtapes and he does like live shows where he like goes to a sneaker store and like raps to like the cameraman, basically, is it nobody's there. But I'm watching a dude in real time that nobody's paying attention to and he's giving it everything that he fucking has. And I find that to be very endearing. There's another guy who's in a very similar lane, but a completely different dude. He's actually like a super hardcore, like conservative comedian. But he's in like his late 40s, early 50s. So I don't know if this is like a midlife cry. I don't know what it is. But the dude just uploads like seemingly open mic YouTube shorts. Again, nobody watches them. Nobody interacts with them. But I watch every single fucking one. By the way, all the jokes are basically like, and Grandma, this is about to be very crude. Just know I'm not saying this. I'm saying this. A comedian said this. And this is just basically what his jokes are. It's very gross, Grandma. You might just want to skip ahead. But he's like, I'm old. He's like, my dick doesn't even work anymore. He's like, you think I want to get laid? He was using more crude language than that. But he's like, oh, my shit, I'm busted. Like, this doesn't work. And that's like his whole deal, is that like his dick doesn't work. And that like he owns a shit ton of Amazon stock, and that he has an Asian wife who speaks horrible English. And then he does a really half-assed Asian impression. Like, not even a funny one. It's just like a really half-assed one that I'm like, if you're going to do it, You know what I mean? If you're going to do it, like, fucking do it. And he just doesn't even do it. And I'm like, that's your wife. You know? If you can make the voice about anybody, it's your wife. Like, you can probably get away with that. So that's his whole deal. But guess what, dude? Nobody cares. Nobody cares, and he still uploads like every single fucking day. I love seeing those people in the wild. Not in the Howard Stern way, where Howard fucking, oh my God, Parasite. Not in the Howard Stern way where he finds somebody who maybe has like a mental deficiency and he like brings them on the show just to fuck with them. Like, I don't mean in like the fishbowl way where you're like, oh, look at this guy. I mean it genuinely. That when you see people on the internet, because of how vast it is, you just don't see that. You only hear about the people who, and I keep banging the table, and I really apologize if that keeps coming through. I need to stop moving so much. But you only ever see the success stories. You only ever see the people who get they pull 250,000 views a video, and they're talking about, ooh, look at this diamond play button. Oh, I got all these subs, and like bullshit like that. You just never hear about the people who it doesn't work out for, but they still try because that's what they do. That's their passion. You know, they do shit on the side, but like this is what they're passionate about. It sounds like you care a lot, dude, is how I will come back around to this. It sounds like you are very, very passionate about this, John. And so there will not be a level, just because I can tell we may be aligned in the same way in this, on the whole, like, until I'm perfect at this thing, I'm not going to do it. But there is never a level of perfect enough to actually start doing it. My recommendation to you would be, if you have songs that are already in the chamber and you've conceptualized something in your head, it's really a step-by-step thing. Any music video that I've ever made, which hasn't been that many, but like for example, what was the song that I uploaded like a month ago, almost 2 months ago? I'm Not So Sure I Love It. I made that song in 15 minutes. My son was sitting in a bouncer, and I was just bouncing him with my foot, and I recorded that song in 15 minutes. The next day, I was like, this is fun, and I just want to make a quick little thing to it. I didn't think about it, dude. I didn't think about what I was going to do. All I did was like try on some different outfits, and I got the camera that I'm looking at right now, and I just like went out on the balcony, and I just did shit. I did shit with my hands. I I synced the song, and I did all this stuff. And it just came together. It all just, I probably edited, between shooting and editing, all that shit, probably like 6 hours. I'm Not So Sure I Love It, from beginning to end, was probably like a 6-hour thing, right? Because I didn't think about it. I did not consider whether or not I was qualified. I just really fucked with the song in the moment. And I was like, this seems like something that I want to show people, and the only way that I'm going to show them is if there's a visualizer for it. That was it. That was it, dude. So for as long as I have spent on your email here, I hope that you got something out of it. And I hope that, anybody out there, man, I very, very much want all of you to succeed. Not to say like, but not all of you will, because I am very hopeful that you all will. But man, even if the views aren't there for you and the numbers just cannot discourage you early on, you cannot let those numbers discourage you, because they're going to suck. They just will. And that's okay, because that's how it goes. That's how you start, right? If it's for the love of the game, does the perfection really, do you feel fulfilled by the song that you made? I don't know. Or the thing that you're, I keep using the music thing as an example just because it was in the email, but just trying to make it more broad for everybody else so that it can apply. You guys just got to do it, man. That's it. You have to do it to have done it. Right? The music video thing and the, editing videos, all that shit, I get it, man. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. How was episode 69? If you are listening to this, oh my God. You're not going anywhere, Nick. College football 25. Wow, we're here. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't care what anybody, I'm like not listening to anybody about this at all. The subreddit is a disaster. Everybody's being so lame. The game rules. Like, it's awesome. Sure, there are bugs. Sure, there are some bugs. I'm doing a dynasty with Eastern Michigan. right? Tell me why my second game of the year is on the road in Washington, which we did win, by the way. But as soon as I get up to the 9th hardest stadium to play in the game, as soon as I get up to the line, Mo Bamba starts playing. I'm like, that's not supposed to be Washington, but it was still playing though. And because the crowd was going crazy, all my icons are gone, and it's this really raw moment of like, holy shit, this is terrifying. This is awesome. And I think the game has done a really, really good job. The gameplay, first of all, I think it feels really good. The physics feel good. Speed actually mattering in a game is huge. Speed definitely kills. And in Madden, that hasn't really always been the case. It's just fun. It's fast-paced. It's fun. Despite the bugs, like, recruiting's hard. I really, really like how challenging the game can feel at times and how rewarding it is if you're playing on the road and you go down and you put 6 on the board. Like, I'm having a blast with it. And, the fact that people I screenshotted it, too. I'm not going to put it in the episode because who fucking cares? But I saw a thing. It was like a dude was talking about, man, so college football revamped with mods is, like, better than college football 25. And people were like, yeah, definitely. You guys are fucking so annoying. So lame. I muted the college football stuff, never going back in there. Don't care. Don't want to hear from anybody because I enjoy it. And it was the same shit with Starfield, by the way. When Starfield came out and everybody was like, Bethesda's biggest piece of shit ever, literally ever, perhaps. And I'm like sitting over here in like the shipbuilder for like 6 straight hours. I'm not even playing the fucking game. I'm just like in the shipbuilder, which by the way is that you want to talk about a point of contention between me and my girlfriend. Here's one. I'm playing Starfield and I'm in the shipbuilder for 2 hours. Have I been playing the game for 2 hours? Yes or no? When I'm playing 2K and I'm just going to say I wouldn't spend 2 hours doing this, but, just for the sake of consistency. I spend 2 hours going up and down my roster, changing accessories and, doing all this stuff and just like editing the roster. Am I playing the game is my question. I say no. I'm not playing the game. I am on it, but I'm not playing the game. I'm setting things up so that I can play the game. And the Starfield one, Jesus Christ, the arguments that caused. Because I'm like, there's not like an actual argument, but like, you know what I mean? I was like, no, that 100% does not count as playing the fucking game. I don't remember how it came up. I think it was something like, man, like I haven't even played the game. Like I'm just like building ships. And she's like, that's playing the game. I'm like, you don't understand this at all. Unequivocally not playing the game. Right, fellas? Ladies, gentlemen, non-gender conforming listeners of the Coping Hour, I believe that will do it. College Football 25 rules. College Football 25 rules. If you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you're listening to this on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. I will catch you guys in the next one.